Marc Gravenor, thank you very much for joining us in the podcast studio today, taking a couple of hours out this afternoon.
Good. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Well, look, I want to get straight into it. You've got fantastic experience in the business, and I really want to lean into that in this episode. You've smashed records with the business of putting the fastest houses on the market. You brought property to the market quicker than anybody else in the business and actually achieved sales and exchanges quicker than anybody else has. You clearly got stuff that's working, and I'd love to sort of dig into that really and help share some of the successes that you've had. But prior to that, you came from a corporate background before joining the business and launching your own business. Can you tell us what sort of led you to that point of leaving the corporate environment and going on your own?
Yeah, happy to. I've worked for a number of corporates and independents over 20 years now. And I find the gap between the two is much closer. And I think a lot of that is driven by ultimate costs of high street shops. And I found that I was losing my identity. I was starting to do things that I was not comfortable with. And I've always believed you should be honest and transparent with your clients. And I felt I was being encouraged to take a different route than that. And that's not who I am.
And do you think, obviously now you're powering your own business and steering your own ship in this market, do you think the customers are going to start to feel the difference between dealing with a self-employed agent and maybe one from a corporate?
I think they will. The most noticeable thing I've found is how many of my clients have been surprised that I'm actually the guy doing the day-to-day, whereas their experiences elsewhere, and that was proven fairly recently with my most recent listing, was that they were taken on by an all-powerful chap in their living room and they never saw him again. No. It got dropped to the lowest member of staff who is probably the least qualified to convert those opportunities. Yeah.
And I think that care from beginning to end, I think, is something that allows agents just like yourself to stand out in this consistency that you can give to prevent a customer from explaining themselves 4 times over throughout the transaction to the different people that they have to deal with. I definitely see it from our side. We see the reviews that our agents are getting, and honestly, they are fantastic. They are actually far better than the reviews I was able to achieve in running a high street organisation that we did many years ago now. I think people start as clients and end as friends when they're dealing with a self-employed broker. Yeah. They are with them through this whole journey, which can be 6 months or more. And and the relationships that are built are strong.
Yeah.
So let's talk about prospecting and getting listings. As I said at the beginning, you were able to achieve this far quicker than anybody else within our business. What are some of the strategies that you brought into your business from day one in order to get and win listings?
Initially, hit my network straight away. People that I knew, people that I've dealt with before. I've got one lady that I have now sold multiple houses for over the last 20 years. And the last one I sold was way up in Suffolk. She wouldn't use anybody else and basically told me I had to sell her house, which was good for the fee.
Clients for life.
Absolutely. But it is about starting with a network. I think that's crucial. That hits the ground running. I do believe in leaflet dropping. I do believe in door knocking. I think it brings a different dimension to the digital side of the industry. And they both have their benefits, to be fair. And that's certainly where I started. Literally, network, leaflet dropping, door knocking.
And why do you think that the door knocking, leafleting, maybe this, what we'd deem as offline activity, is so effective?
I think if you use, it's interesting, if you look at the statistics from the post office will tell you that a general mailing to an area or a group of people, you'll get 1 or 2% return. If you target that leaflet drop for a specific type of property or location, those percentages increase absolutely enormously. If you're door knocking, and a lot of people are a little bit nervous about that, it doesn't bother me. I find that meeting that person face to face is crucial because they can make an instant decision about you. They're not reading a bit of paper about you. Yeah. And I think they can build confidence straight away, and you can demonstrate what you will or won't do and your motivation, your enthusiasm. Yeah. And I think that's key to a lot of people's success.
And I think intent is quite important when you're going about that sort of door knocking process. How do you demonstrate to the customer your intent at that time, and how are you of service in that moment?
I listen. I don't talk about me. It's not about me, it's about them. I need to understand their motivation, their key drivers, if you like, to understand why they want to sell and what they're trying to achieve. And I think the mistake a lot of high streets make is that they want to fit that owner into their system. I don't do that. I want to know what the owner wants from me, what they expect from their agent, and then we can discuss how I'm going to deliver it.
Perfect. I just think that is so lacking at the moment in actually that. It is just from the very moment, the listening bit. That's key to really understanding the customer and making sure that you're meeting their needs, which is the most important part of the whole process. Consistency in all of this is an important part of it. How do you ensure consistency in these type of activities? What do you do?
It's planning. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? When am I going to do it? The danger is you overstretch yourself and you then lose the activity you've already achieved. Door knocking or leaflet chopping a property once is not necessarily going to work. Yes, you will be lucky on door knocks and get an instant pickup. But the other elements are slow burners. You need to say to yourself, okay, I need to pop back to that property with different bits of information. What information am I providing them? Not just a business card, not just a compliment slip, but it needs to be an organic growth in the information you're providing them. So when they get to the point that you're speaking to them directly or indirectly more often than their current agent, I think that's when it starts to make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. I can really see how that comes through. And do you do, like, with your planning, you say, do you use like time blocking in a diary? Is it, how are you ensuring that you're leaving the house or moving to that activity in your week?
It's interesting, actually. It varies from market to market. So if I take two of my main markets, if I look at Stortford, for example, versus Hertford, Hertford is a morning place. Okay. You need to get them after the school runs and all that kind of thing, because they tend not to go shopping too early in the morning in Hertford. Okay. Whereas Stortford tends to be the other way around. Right. So you understand your location, understand your market, and then design your planning around it. You need to block out that zone, either morning or afternoon, every single day. Yeah. It's not something I'll do on a Monday and a Tuesday. You need to be doing it every day. Bite-sized pieces is the way to deal with it.
And I remember one of our other agents telling me a story around the door knocking element of his business and how that actually had an effect in other areas of his business. So the story goes is he let it slip because he got busy, as I think everybody can do, and then he realised that he took a shake on himself and thought, I need to get this plan back into the diary. And it wasn't necessarily off the back of the door knocking activity, but the whole business started to get better. Do you think there is something in that consistent, positive outbound effort that brings results?
I think there is. I think it's like most things. The more often you do something, if you're doing it correctly, the better you get. And I think that helps. I think engaging with people, not just the owners you're dealing with, but new people, I think stretches your tasking. And I think that's a good, healthy thing to do. I think it's very easy to stop what I call the foundation blocks and then think, well, where's my business going?
And to remember, isn't it, when you do get busy, to think, right, I'm dealing with today, but actually got to think about tomorrow.
But that's managing your whole diary. So, for example, I do what I refer to as vendor love. I do that on a Tuesday. All my owners know that I'm going to call them on a Tuesday. So they're expecting my call. Brilliant. So I'm more likely that they will be available. It reduces the amount of time during the week I have to then make those random calls and allows me to dedicate the time to other elements which are important. Yeah,
that's a great tip, because it's almost... And not to bring it down, but it's a bit like training the customer to understand how the relationship can work. But I think once you get that right, people like consistency. They like to know or to grow to expect that call on a Tuesday. And if you miss it, they'll know about it and you'll soon get a call back on a Wednesday. But it is actually a nice part, because they're not expecting a call on a Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, because they know they've got one coming on a Tuesday. So, I love that. And vendor love, God, we're going to coin that. That's a great one. Brilliant. So, if I was a new agent starting today, what are probably two of the top things you would recommend having in my diary to help me to build a successful business?
Definitely a plan as to what you're going to do. Prior to that, you need to understand the area you're targeting. The reason I say that is if you look at a new town, for example, we cover areas like Stevenage and Harlow. Their property type, etc., is very different to, say, a small market town or a bigger area such as Bishop Stortford. You need to make a plan for the next 4 weeks as to what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. You need to make sure you've got the right marketing material. But first and foremost, I'd have a chat with the guys that we work with because they've all been there.
Yeah.
You know, we've all tripped over the errors that we've all made, but we've come out of it successfully. And they will have tools and ideas that will benefit you.
Yeah.
And just taking half-hour chat with important people within the team, such as yourself or Mark or David, will be absolutely amazing for anybody starting new.
It's good because actually I think people do have a fear and a concept sometimes that going self-employed can be a bit of a lonely place. And I think it can be lonely by choice.
Yeah.
I think there is loads of help around you. Certainly in our model, with a very collaborative group of and the network is growing. Actually utilise that network. Like you say, people have been there and done that on most occasions. I can certainly give you a little bit of advice or something not to do. Actually using the group around you, because we're all cheering for each other. We're pushing this brand. We're pushing each other along the way. And I think leaning into the network like that is a really important piece. And I think a wonderful bit of advice.
Vital, I think.
What do you think the role of local knowledge plays in customer experience?
I think it's very important. One of the main reasons, one of the motivational drivers, if you like, that people move would be things like schools. The knowledge of what schools are local, and if you've done your research and our system allows us to, what are the Ofsted ratings to those schools? Geographically, what's the transportation like? You know, I've got to drop the child to school and I need to go to London. How do I get there? So knowing individual areas, I think, is absolutely key. Also, by knowing those areas, there is not just the work and the school side, there's the outside side. Golf, rugby, football, cricket, all these things dovetail into the community that you want to work in. You need to know the community. For example, if I go through Hertford High Street, I'm often stopped by owners of shops because I've always made the effort to go and speak to those guys, have a coffee with them or see how their business is going. And those independent store owners would always want to recognise you, and I think that's very important. Yeah,
I think there is a lot of data out there, and we give you that data in terms of those tools, but actually there's a story that goes with that data, and I think just reading that alone doesn't give you the whole picture.
No, absolutely.
And I think where I think the role of an agent is going to continue to be critical for a long time is actually being able to storytell, utilising that information and to help your customers find that ideal spot within the town or village or wherever they might want to be to suit them, because life's about more than the house. And depending on what stage of life you're at, how old you are, how many kids you have, whatever, the life around you is going to differ. And I think the agent and the advice that a great agent can put on that can really help the whole moving experience and get you into that right place. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. I think it's so valuable to get the experience that you've had. As I said, you've had huge success so far, and I'm so excited about the journey that you're going on, the way in which you're leaning into the rest of the team, and I think the team are benefiting from your experience as well. So thank you for taking the time to come on with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Good.
Thank you.